All right, good evening, good morning, everyone, because it is indeed another day and another time on radio. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the show you have been waiting for. My name is George Iniabasi Essien, and welcome to my Guinness World Records longest radio marathon talk show. I will be attempting 100 hours with the certified, of course, number from the Guinness World Records, which is 241 4653 LMHA. Of course, over the next 100 hours, we'll be engaging in thought provoking conversations, share inspiring stories, and push beyond the limits. Of course, as we begin this marathon, I want to acknowledge, of course, everyone who has gotten us to this point. My amazing team have been very, very active, ensuring that we power on and make this day a reality. Of course, for Comfort 95.1 FM, where I am at the moment, I am indeed delighted to be a part of this family. As I reflect on this journey, I'm reminded of the power of resilience and determination, which we will be showing. Thought-provoking discourses, exciting time out, and a whole lot more. Welcome to the Record Radio Rush with me, your host, Mighty George. In a matter of seconds, we'll be introducing our first guest for today. Well, just to let you know, this attempt has kicked off. And of course, at a minute past midnight, which is Sunday morning, the 27th of April, and would run until Thursday morning, and during which time I intend to interview about 100 guests, hopefully. And of course, we'll be having time to interact as well via the phone lines. Our guests also will span from home and abroad. It's going to be a long, long list. So let me not bore you with rolling out the list as it is at the moment. But here we are. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin. Our first guest is a man who obviously has done this radio business for a long time. By the way, some people have asked, why is Mighty George doing this? I've said it a number of times in some of my interviews, one of which, of course, was the interview with this man who's sitting next to me. I have the pleasure of letting everyone know that I'll be clocking 20 years on radio. So that definitely is a milestone. 2 decades is worth celebrating with something like this. Let's also tell you that I'm also hoping that the younger generation of broadcasters will be inspired by this. Obviously, powering through 100 hours, the channel called radio, the medium called radio would be loved so well. And people would aspire to even do what I am doing and what I've done in the last 20 years, or what my guest has done in the last 33 years as well. And it's also to show the can-do spirits, the quality arise spirit of Akwa Ibomites, the big spirits of Nigerians as well. Nigerians are known to be record breakers. And so we would definitely, on this part of the divide, on this side of the world, on this side of the country as well, hope to join that growing list. So it's more than just a personal ambition to be a record holder. It's also a desire to carry everyone along, especially right here in my native Akwa Ibom state, wherever you're watching across the globe or you're listening to, because this is radio, but we're indeed streaming on many platforms. At this stage, you cannot divorce video from radio, but let's let you know that this is a radio show. And the frequency you'll be listening on terrestrially is 95.1 FM. All right? In Uyo, Nigeria. For those of you who are just listening for the first time, Comfort FM has been in existence for 7 years, and will be 7 years plus. We'll be marking our 8th anniversary on July 1, 2025. All right, today we are starting by being in the company of a media icon, a name that echoes through the airwaves with style, substance, and strength. He's not just a broadcaster, he's a brand. He's not just a voice, he's a visionary, a man who turned the microphone into a mission. With 32 years of experience in broadcasting, he has not only sustained relevance, but raised the standard for generations to come. As a founder of Bush House, Nigeria, he has built a platform that informs, empowers, and elevates. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a mentor to many and a giant in Nigerian broadcasting, the man we all fondly call the boss, Michael Bush. A very good morning to you, the boss, and welcome. It's a delight to have you as my first guest on this crazy ride.
Mighty George. I called you 3 times
What
because if anyone needed to do this, it should have been you. It is you. And,
it should have been you also. Maybe some years back.
At the age of 53 going to 54,
wow.
I wouldn't do 10 hours like that. Let alone 100.
Well,
Mighty George, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for honoring the invite.
Yes, even in success, you bring an old man to show the way, and that's why I'm here. And,
That's great.
I haven't done this for nearly 33 years. You can be sure you can do 100. You can do even 150 hours. And
Thank
I'm
you.
just super elated to be here with you to kick it off.
All right, then. And we are kicked off. Don't forget, you can join us on all platforms. Mighty George on Facebook, X, on Instagram. We're streaming live. I told you this afternoon, don't sleep. We're also on Comfort FM, on Facebook, Instagram, and we're streaming on YouTube as well. All right, in a short while, we'll be opening up the phone lines. It'll be great to have my first caller on this history-making show. So let's dive in with Mr. Michael Bush. We're staying here for quite some time, so I'm going to take it easy with you so that I don't exhaust all my questions.
You don't run out of steam.
I'm telling you. All right, so let's start. This is an attempt where I'm celebrating radio and longevity, whether we like it or not. 20 years is something, but close to 33 years is something even bigger. So I'm going to ask you, when did you first realize the microphone was your destiny?
Well, that's a great question. It's a very good place to also kick off. Before I answer that question, Mighty George, let me just give your listener and you, and indeed your viewer, since this is also going across all platforms, a little background. My father was a fisherman, my mom petty trader. Unfortunately, about 3 years ago, 4, my father went to be with the Lord, and we missed him. My mom is still there, but both of them, didn't go to school. So I grew up in that kind of setting where at the age of, up until the age of 13, never saw a motor car. I didn't know how a motor car looked.
Wow.
And up until the age of 19, yeah, I didn't know about color TV, electricity, and air conditioner. And then I think that until I came along, nobody in my family ever went to the university, So that's the kind of family I came from. And because my father was a petty trader, my mom was a petty trader, my father a fisherman in the Republic of Cameroon, the only sign of luxury we had in our home was a 4-battery radio set. I can never forget that 4-battery radio set. In fact, I even have its name right there at the back of my head. So this 4-battery radio set was the only thing that connected me to the world, and every time my father would go out fishing, I would steal some cassettes, some gospel cassettes, and then sit there and then press the recording up and try to run mock commentaries that I listened to on Radio Cameroon, just like to run football commentaries and all that, just mock commentaries, and I kind of like it. And I told myself when I grew up,
where was this though?
It was in Cameroon. A place called Bekumu. Yes, Bekumu, where Nigerians there, because we have a great number of Nigerians. They call the place Ubenekang, but it's Bekumu, and it's in Bamuso subdivision of Ndian division of the southwest province of Cameroon.
What was your family doing there? What was your dad?
Fishing. My father was a fisherman.
So it's fishing took your father there?
Absolutely. My father was there for 50 years. So I just came along. I spent the first 20 years of my life there. That's why my first school education. My primary education was in Cameroon. My secondary education was in Cameroon. Both of them on scholarship. And I only came back here in the 90s, in the wee 90s, to pursue university education.
Okay.
And that's how. So when I came back, the first day I got to my village from Oron, we came by sea. Got to my village. They said, "Oh, AKBC." So I watched AKBC on black and white.
Black
TV.
and white.
And I said,
It was the only thing aside NTA.
Nothing else. Nothing else. I by that time was even NTA. Well, I don't know. I don't seem to remember. This is 1990, 1991. I remember quite much just been created 4 years prior, so may not have been any NTA, but I don't remember. So
that's true.
So I now got there, and some friends said, "Oh, this station is just in Uyo, and it's just 30 minutes from my village. Right now it's 10 minutes because the roads have become better." And
that's right.
So, boom, I took a bus, brought all my friends with me to Uyo, and it was what they call Barracks Road End, where Government House was, so where Government House still is. That's where the station was.
All right.
So we got there, and just looked around, and I told myself one day I was going to be on radio, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Wow. All right. So just loving that small radio, the transistor radio.
That's what we.
You said you remember what it looks like.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I even know its name.
You know the name?
Konyon.
Wow. All right. So that's where it all started, right?
Yeah, sure.
Loving that radio, and then when they told you there's a station just over there,
I said, let's go and see.
Okay. And the rest is history. You went to see. Okay. So you went to see that, and then you found who? How were you able to get into the mainstream
when
radio?
I got there, remember, I'm so anonymous. I just come from the Republic of Cameroon. I knew nobody. So we just went through the premises, looked around. We just walked as if we came to look for somebody. Remember, this also was TV. It wasn't even radio.
That's right.
It's many, many years. I think 3 years later that I first got into radio, and that's why my day is that June 4 or July 4? I've not forgotten. But in 1993, I finally first got on radio, and that's where it all began.
All right, great. What was your first show?
Oh, it was a request. It was a request program.
Okay.
It was a request program. It was a request program on a station called AKBC AM station.
AM station.
Yes, in a back of all places. I remember that day. It was a Thursday. I remember that day was a Thursday. I think it was in June. So I arrive back, and it's raining. And before I got to the studio on the, I think, Hospital Road, in a back, I was totally drained. So I arrived there. Mr. Franco Mosen was the head of station, and so I went to him to say, "Oh, I'm the new presenter of this program." He said, "My friend, can you just get out of here?"
Who are you?
He said they didn't tell me. So excuse me. So I'm there thinking about my life, how I've suffered to get there, and all of that. When they then present of the program, now it's an academic, teaches in the University of Uyo. Even in my department, my initial department at the university, the Department of Foreign Languages, So he came in. We called him at the time Mr. Theodore Ekpe, but now it's nearly a professor.
Oh, okay.
So he walks in and he says, no, sir, they told me that I should hand over to him. So that's when I pleaded with the man. I said, look, Rain has already beaten me too much, and this man has shaken me so much. Can we co-present?
Yeah.
So my first time on air,
you were shaky, program.
Yeah, so we co-presented, and
were you shaky?
No, shake. Uran man. Uran man doesn't shake.
Okay, all right, that's great. And from then on, the boss is here as the boss. I mean, what does the boss mean, though?
You should ask Comrade Niemebong. In his heyday as a staff member of Bush House, Nigeria. Today is Honorable Commissioner Special Duties. In our great state. He was the one that gave me that name, and it's something that has spanned, if you like, has spanned out so well, has stand out well, and I really
you just accepted it.
Yes,
you're the boss.
Yes, so much.
What does it mean to you?
Well, that's a good question.
I know you love it when we call you the boss.
Yes,
yeah.
No, I prefer,
we like it.
Yeah, sure. I prefer it, but it comes with the territory. It comes with so much cost. Yes, it carries so much implications. It's not just the boss by mouth.
By mouth, you got to show walking.
Absolutely. So it's quite an expensive title to bear, but yeah, I get by.
All right. Shout out to Comrade Inimemabong
Absolutely,
for
yeah.
that name, which
He's
is
the one, and he did many
it's
things.
stuck now.
As a matter of fact, even our company, we quarreled together to and fro to be able to name our first company, Worldwind Media Resources. Both of us, he drove me to CAC in Uyo to be able to incorporate that, and so we were quarreling. We were just looking at the name, and I told him, look, I want a name that would conquer the world at the end. So we came up with Worldwind Media Resources, but now our parent company, of course, is Bush House Group.
All right then. The name Bush. That name Bush.
Yes, another great thing to look at, a great window to open.
The name Bush. You were not born Bush.
I wasn't born Bush, but I'm now Bush.
You're now Bush.
And Mighty Church, I think this is a global window to also again answer the question, even for the umpteenth time. The truth of the matter is that no member of my family, even down to the 10th or 15th or 20th generation, ever bore Bush or Ikot, which is a Kwaibum for Bush, because I've seen people who say, "Oh, it's Michael Ikot." It just, and I just said, "Well, why don't you even start the interpretation, the translation from Michael? Why are you starting halfway? So." But what happened was that, as I told you, I went to school in Cameroon. I think this is 1988. There was a presidential election in America, in the United States of America, and a certain Michael Dukakis was running against a certain George Bush. I had a Cameroonian friend whose name was Michael Nambangi. My own name was Etebon Michael. So every time we went out, Cameroonian friends, Cameroonians generally like to call you by your English names. So they'll call us Michael, and both of us would turn. So that election provided us a beautiful window, a beautiful moment, a beautiful excuse to get a better name for ourselves, or to get some difference. So Michael Nambangi, my Cameroonian friend, said he was rooting for Michael Dukakis because it was his namesake.
So he adopted Dukakis.
Yes, and in fact they started calling him Michael Dukakis.
Wow.
Then me, I said no, I'm for Bush. So they started calling me Michael Bush. So when he won that election, and then I came back to Nigeria in the wee 90s to start radio, I just went to my father and sought permission to change my name formally from Etebon Michael Effiong to Michael Bush Mbaba.
So there's no Ikot in your name?
Never. It's never been there. It would never be there. So I've met people. People even tell their families, that, they were with me in the university. I only changed my name.
Okay.
Now they know better that they are lying.
All right then. So now there's never and will never be an Ikot. Except, of course, you want to translate Bush now, in this case. I don't know where he got it from.
In which case, we have to also translate Michael.
First. How are you going to do that?
Well.
All right. So we've learned about your earliest moments, how you started, and, that move from Cameroon and all of that one. That means you speak French very fluently. Yeah?
My first degree is in French. My first degrry is in French, unfortunately, from Nigeria. Do you understand? When I came back, I wanted to do journalism. And there's so many stories. There are many stories to my life. I wanted to do journalism at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
Okay.
That because in Cameroon at that time there was just one university in Africa. That was UNN.
UNN.
In Cameroon, every time they mentioned a university, it would be UNN. So as a young Nigerian, when I got back here, I said I needed to go to UNN. So they said, to get to the University Keda in Nigeria, you have got to write JAM. I didn't know that. This UTME. I never knew that. No. There's nothing like that in Cameroon. The Cameroonian system is straightforward. You go to primary school for 7 years. You go to secondary school for 5 years. You go to high school for another 2 years. 2 years, and then you go to the university straight. So this 7 years at the primary school, you must have first school living certificate and then common entrance. You take a common entrance.
Common entrance.
If you pass in list A, you are sponsored in college for 5 years by the Cameroon authorities. If you pass in list B, you go to private schools, and it's crazy. If you don't,
you have to pay.
Yeah, sure. So, and if you don't pass, well, that's you. So you get into college, that is secondary school. You do 5 years. At the end, you write a 10-paper GCE level examination.
Okay.
And at the end of the 10 papers, you're just expected to pass in 4. If you pass 4, you have 4 papers. you proceed straight to high school, 2 years, write GCE A levels, pass, take 5 paper A levels, pass in 2, straight to the university. But when I came to Nigeria, the thing was different. So they said, oh, you need to write
just right jam.
Yes, and UTME. So I took that exam the first year. I had, just to be sure, I had 176.
You remember?
Yes, I remember everything. So the second year, I took it again. I had 175. So they now said, no, you are doing well. You are doing well.
Okay.
Just try a third time. I mean, so I said, no, I know my results. I already know my results. The first year was 176, second year 175. Third year will be 174. So but this is the real deal. It's not as if I performed poorly in that exams, even though I performed poorly. But the problem was that I've been in school. I've been educated only in Cameroon. The textbooks were different. In fact, when there's something they mentioned, government, that I need to take government because of journalism. I never had something like that
in Cameroon.
Nothing like that. In fact, they used to have what they call civics. They cancelled it.
Wow.
Because they probably didn't want too many Cameroonians asking too many questions about government's functions and all that.
Wow.
Which is why President Paul Biya, who was there I think from 1982.
He's still there.
I got into secondary school in 1984 in Cameroon. He's still the president.
He's still the president.
In fact, perhaps the Minister of Education who signed my primary and secondary school certificates still there.
It's still there
perhaps,
as well.
So I got problems with that, with history, with this, with that. The only thing, even literature in English was different textbooks and all of that. The only thing that was just general was English. So I said I wasn't going to do that. But so one day I ran into a man on the University of Rio campus, just leaving. I would leave my village every day, just go there that I need admission. So the man just told me, you this boy, every day you are here with an envelope. What are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for admission. He said, is that how they have admission?
Is that how they do?
Let me look at those your papers. And I brought and I screamed, oh, there's a program in French. They're doing certificate course in French. You can go and do the 1 year. They send you to where you want to go.
Okay.
So I got there. Professor Mrs. Motaze was the head of department when I arrived. Fantastic woman. And she said to me, oh, your O-level results is from Cameroon and you're so good in French. Oh, you're so good at French. So let's do this. If you pass well, I'm going to send you to your communication arts. By now, it's no longer journalism. It's communication arts. But if you don't pass well, you stay here. So I threw myself into that, made A+, and they now told me, no, you are such a good French.
Just stay there. And that's how it happened.
So I ended up, right there.
I mean, linguistics, French, and look at you now. You're a media guru. Yeah. Bush House, Nigeria. You talked about, how you struggled you went back and forth on the first name, but eventually Bush House, Nigeria.
Absolutely.
What was the the vision of Bush House, Nigeria? What were you trying to solve? What were you trying to achieve? And what are you still trying to achieve?
Beautiful question. It's always been what Dr. Udemen, who was there right from the first whistle, called that I needed to create a marketplace for ideas to contend.
Okay.
Yeah, a marketplace for ideas to contend, a place that everyone will be talking to, would speak about. People would come there either to get help or to support others, and then create a platform to help young people, create a platform for people to get information and get the best information without any form of deceit. That's what we try to create. And by the way, I've been doing 32 years now in the sector, and Bush House Nigeria itself is 22 years because it came after 10 years when I got into the sector. So that's what we set out, and it's not like something.
Are you still on that part now? With that?
Of course, because I mean, this job, mighty judge. This job is exactly like preaching. It's exactly like doing the work of God. It cannot end. There is no end to it. You
have to keep evolving.
You keep evolving. You keep growing. You keep adding. You keep subtracting. But when I look back, I know you may not ask me that, but I can tell you, and I'm not waiting for you to ask me, that we've done excellently well.
Yeah, of course. I was going to say that and ask that. But Bush House Nigeria. I remember at the time, Bush House Nigeria was primarily in the FCT.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the scope of work then?
My then wife was kidnapped by. Was kidnapped.
I had that story too,
yes,
but
sure. And then with the moment she came out after 5 days and 5 nights, I was very angry, mighty George, and I decided that I needed to carry her away to safety, and so I just left for Abuja without any plan whatsoever. I knew nobody in Abuja. I made no plans. I just packed in fact, all the things that I owned. I lived in a duplex at the time. This is number 3 Corner Street in Uyo, just off Nepal line of Port Harcourt Street. So the night she was taken on a Saturday night. Because the people purportedly said they were assassins. They had been sent by their friend to kidnap themselves. So they didn't find me. So they took her, and they called me only about 30 hours after on a Sunday that, I needed to pay 40 million, this one, that one. Okay, to God be the glory. But they brought her out on the night of Thursday the following week, and I said to her the moment I went to a police station to pick her up because they dumped her at the police station. I said to her, we're leaving this town. She knelt down and begged me. They really pleaded.
What happened before she was released? What was the...
Well, they got money.
They got money.
They got money. They got money.
Yeah, they got money.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. So, but she knelt down and said, "No, we don't have to leave." They pleaded that we should not leave. That they didn't know it was Michael Bush's wife. They didn't know this. They didn't know that. My mind was made up. This was a Thursday. Took her to a hotel. Never got back to that house. Till today, I've not been back to that house. And I didn't take a pin from that house. A pin. I will call my friends or anybody that you need a bed, go there, have many.
Was that your personal house? Or?
Yes, it was a 4-bedroom duplex.
Wow.
I said, just go and pick the beds. If you needed, there were about 4 or 5 beds there because I had 5 rooms. If you needed the dining set, if you needed whatever you needed was there. Just go and pick them. So on this was on Thursday night. Friday, Saturday, Sunday we went to church. Monday, Tuesday, I told her, let's go to Abuja. We lived there for 10 years before I personally came back in 2019.
And you didn't pick your belongings?
Nothing.
Just went straight to Abuja.
Went straight to Abuja and restarted life. So that's why when I see people kill themselves over a small material thing, sometimes I just wonder whether they're human beings.
It's of note. You're someone who many feel doesn't really care about material
and
things.
Truly, no, it's not even many. All feel like that. They should
you could be driving a car and you just come down and say, take the car.
But it doesn't matter to me. And truly, nothing matters to me. Nothing. Not even what I am putting on now. Nothing. Because I was just looking at. It was just today. I was looking at my wardrobe, how empty it's looking, and So I'll be laughing. I'll be wondering, what about all the things we wore doing this TV program or that TV program?
What happened to them though?
Of course, they go the way that they have to go. And they just have to go that way so that life can continue for others. Life can also get better for others. So
which is great.
Yeah, sure.
A great side of you that people really love. Now let's get back to building your brand, the Boss brand, the Michael Bush brand.
Yeah.
Bush House Nigeria. It's a big brand, not just in Akwa Ibom, but Nigeria and internationally. Yeah. I mean, I know how many times we've had international calls in the past few days.
Absolutely. You asked me the question about what happened in Abuja.
Yes, Abuja.
Yes.
Let's get back to Abuja now.
We went into Abuja. This was July.
Okay.
And by
of what year?
July of 2009.
Okay.
And I think I just decided to acclimatize a little. August, September, I think on October, on the 1st of October, I think, forgotten now, but I now started Bush House Nigeria running as we were running in Akwa Ibom 5 days a week on Capital FM. That's 92.9, right there, the 12th floor of Radio House.
I actually have talked on Capital FM.
I know, of course, I know, because I used to hear, but you were not, you were on another station. I was. Have you ever been in Abuja?
Yes.
Abuja? Okay.
No, I actually was at Love FM.
Love FM, yes, I remember.
I started out at Love FM.
Yes, sure, I remember. So, and after I think 3 years or 2, we went on the network service of Radio Nigeria.
it was massive.
We became the first, and I think to date, the only Nigerian private company that had 1 hour live on the network service of Radio Nigeria every Saturday. And my God, mighty George.
It was massive.
What a platform. Humongous. What a platform.
I'm sure at that time you were able to meet the who is who in Nigeria.
Everybody. I got everybody. People wanted to come on the program. And I remember one day, one particular interview, three. I can just give you three.
Okay.
So one is the man who is today on some TV station. Was presidential spokesperson, Dr. Ruben Abati.
Yeah.
So he wants to come on the program, so he arrives, and I go down there to receive him. The car park is right down there. So, and I take him to the 12th floor, and he's 8. So they come to this table or something bigger. It's on the network service of Nigeria. The table is so big, so he lays his materials, papers all over the place. So I said to him, "What are all these papers for?" He said, "Well, I've listened to your interviews. They're always crazy. I don't want to be caught unawares." I said, "You are not going to need any of them. You will not quote one thing."
One thing, eh?
Because, I mean, what kind of interviews are to be quoting paper? Is that what we came here for? I'm just going to ask you real-life questions. You tell us about President Goodluck Jonathan as he then was. And so we had that interview. Then I also had 2 other guests. One, Charlie Boy.
Charlie Boy. You know, Charles Soputa.
And today... what's his name? The Minister of Aviation.
Festus Keyamo.
Festus Keyamo. No, both men were so critical of government. This is about 2010, 2011, 2012. They were so critical of government. So the moment they arrived at Radio House, and even
it was always fire.
There was also this other guy, Igudu Migudu. You know Igudu Migudu of Edo State?
Yeah.
Was in the House of Reps.
Yes, I remember that name.
Big English.
Yeah,
like
okay.
So they would arrive there. So when Festus Keyamo and Charlie Boy arrived, different, it wasn't the same day. The authorities of Radio Nigeria, no, you are not going to interview them. They would.
That's the Higi Haga man, yeah? Is it that one?
Yes.
That says Higi Haga and speaks all the big words.
Yes, that's good. So, but I said to them, let me bear responsibility. I've been on your station for this length of time, this number of years. Have I brought anybody to abuse anybody? It's the person, it's the character, it's the persona of the interviewer that shows on in the interview. It's not the interviewee who comes to. So they said, no, Charlie Boy is a troublesome person. Festus Keyamo is troublesome. But, we went on to have the best interviews with those gentlemen. And all of that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so Abuja was very good, but when it comes to media in Abuja, you would struggle. You would struggle. That's why after a decade, I had to run along and come back to familiar territory.
All right.
Even though the familiar territory is not...
It's not familiar, but...
Yeah, it's familiar, but hateful.
Hateful.
Yeah, hateful.
Wow.
The sentiments here are so Neanderthal, they're so primitive, so Stone Age, and all of that. People think, people, and sometimes even from the very high levels of life, they think as if life begins and ends with them. There's never any consideration as far as an Akwa Ibom person is concerned, especially an Akwa Ibom person in politics who has a little political power, who thinks about the God factor. So they.
What do you think? What do they think about?
It's up to them. It's what they believe in. I'm not able to. My pastor, my father, my spiritual father, somebody that I really, really love and who will be joining you at some point, Global Baba, Dr. Beldamina.
That's right.
Teaches me the Bible in ways that I, with all my book knowledge or all my life exposure, never knew. Something he recently taught. I wasn't even in church that day, but I picked it up. That look, how can we're having a conversation, a family conversation as people in church, as God's people, and then we mention Satan. What are we even doing? Are we okay? How can we bring Satan? How can
we shouldn't even say Satan die.
No, but who is he? He's already dead. Do you understand? He's already dead. So, and that's why I'm never going to sit on here and dignify anything, any other thing that you worship other than the one that I know.
Okay. All right. So you came back and Akwa Ibom has been the way you've said it is.
Yeah, it's been that, but sometimes it's also that for it's also that to be a stepping stone. It's also that for God to show you that, look, the brothers of Joseph, if they hadn't sold Joseph into slavery, where would they have taken the fare to get to Egypt?
That's right.
Do you understand? So some of these things are just natural ways, nature's way, God's way of telling you to just stay tight and stay tuned up until the end of history, up until your own time comes. And that's why we are here. We're staying tuned.
All right, then. Staying tuned indeed. You have, we're still talking about your media journey, especially radio, which you now do TV as well.
I do everything.
You do everything.
And I keep a column in some newspapers.
That's right. Talking nonsense.
Yes, talking nonsense. I talk nonsense every Monday, yeah. And then I also used to keep another column, Ask the Boss, one online newspaper in Lagos.
Okay.
But when I started my PhD program, my doctoral program in the University of Uyo, and then also started part-time lecturing. And
you're a lecturer now, right?
Yeah, I should be.
That's massive.
Should be doing that. Yeah. I kind of love it. Yeah.
Okay. What you lecture in?
Broadcasting, of course.
Broadcasting, great. All right, so, this has also led to, some news that came out that you are soon to float the radio station, or float the radio station. What happened to that?
Well, again, not to glorify anything, the licenses are there. It's not even just radio, it's TV. We have the frequency I can share with you, 87.7.
Okay.
But I think it's the immediate past governor of Akwa Ibom, after he had left office and we're discussing this, who said something to me that I put it to everybody. He said, look, Mr. Bush, just give it time. If you struggle, you don't even know the plan of God. I will come out. Just leave it. And absolutely, I just stand to agree with that. It's just a matter of time. It would come.
Okay.
So there are no worries with that.
We're looking forward to that. So, how do you think, how have you stayed this relevant, in conventional media? Of course, you also do, online and all of that. But how do we stay, tapping from your story, very relevant in this period of content creators who are taking the attention of lots of consumers?
That's a great question, Mighty George, as indeed all others that you've asked me so far. But I think that question tallies completely with what then Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, the Right Honorable Onofio Luke, said to me or asked me many years ago. He came to my hotel room to see me then. I was still staying in Abuja, so when I come to you, I'll live in a hotel. So he said to me, the boss, I have two questions to ask you. Number one, how have you been able for decades to remain Michael Bush?
That's right.
You don't go up, you don't go down. You're just like that. Number one. Number two, how are you able to live? You have your mentees, people that you trained, people that you sponsored, people that you mentored. How are you able to still stay like this when some of them have gone on to be bigger than you?
Okay.
So I started by answering the second question and saying to him, my father at the time, my father was alive. Yes, my father was alive, a fisherman, an illiterate man. So I said to him, because I'm Michael Bush now, internationally recognized, so I'm bigger than my father. He said, oh, excellent answer.
Wow.
I
what an answer.
So I said, okay. So no mentee is actually is ever greater than the mentor. In fact, even if your mentor dies, even if your father dies, you can never be greater than them. And
so that was the answer to the second question.
That was the answer. And it goes to speak to some husbands who were angry because their wives are becoming something or are growing. How can I ever be angry that my wife is bigger than me or is big, is making? Whereas when my wife, when they are counting my achievements, they count as part of those
part of the achievement.
So why am I angry? So it's just like that. You say, this mentee, this your boy is bigger. How can it be bigger? When people are speaking about what I have done,
that's right.
They mention them, they count them.
They say that was one of his,
absolutely.
His mentees.
So but when they are counting their own achievements, they don't count me.
All right.
Do you understand? So that's one.
Okay.
So about the other question, which is what you tried to ask. I've certainly forgotten the question.
That was have you been able to,
yes,
stay relevant this period?
Absolutely. So,
while your supposed mentees have gone on to in quote higher places, but you've still been relevant in this industry.
So, I'm very real. I never overreach myself, Mighty Judge. I tell you, even as Michael Bush today, even as the boss, there are many things that I don't want. There are positions I don't want, for instance. There are positions I've been offered. I said, no, I didn't want them because for whatever reason, do you understand? I just want to go one step, go to two, go to three. I don't want to leave one step or the second wrong or the third wrong and get to 20 and then discover that I didn't take the fourth to the 19th wrongs, and then I need to come back and balance it, because that's what happens in life. People skip, boom,
and go, and then what happens? Then they come back
and start living.
Okay.
In fact, it's just today, I think I shared it on Facebook, a former minister or one of those top shots around the Mobutu Sese Seko is now begging in the streets of DR Congo.
Was DR Congo, former Zaire,
Yes, former Zaire. How can that happen? How can that happen?
Wow.
Those things, they're just to show you that perhaps, just perhaps, it's not in all cases, but just perhaps, the man didn't go through all the wrongs of society. Because the man who goes through all the wrongs one step at a time is an experienced man.
That's right.
He never overreaches himself, never forgets where he came from, never forgets how life is, and just waits and takes them one day at a time. So that's who I am.
That's what you're doing.
I take myself not too seriously, even this life, even this job. I'm just very honest with it. The things I can do, I do. The ones that I cannot do, I don't do. I don't overreach myself. I don't join any nonsense. I would never belong to any nonsense apart from church. I would never worship anything other than God. I would never worship man.
Okay.
And all of that. So
very principled.
Yes. So I'm at peace with myself. The things that I can afford, I can afford. If I cannot afford, I don't want them. So I get by.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So how that's but the Michael Bush has his own principles, and some people call you over principled.
Yes,
some people say you're strict. Some say you
too much.
They say, some say you are proud.
Yeah, should be.
Because this one you're saying that you don't mix, you don't just join the crowd. Some people might misconstrue it to be.
It doesn't even matter what they think.
Okay, you don't really care about that.
I don't care. What happens is what God thinks, really, and that is the most important thing. Because the people who call you proud are the proud ones.
Okay,
do you understand? They just looking. They think that if I were Michael Bush, this is how I would be. This is what I would do, and all of that. But they can never be me. I can never be them. I just get by. Okay. I can never be a proud person.
Yeah,
because I know God. I know God so much. I know God beyond even what they think, beyond the church. I really know God. I've experienced God also, and I know.
Consider yourself a very spiritual person?
Well, I don't know about very spiritual, but I know God. I just know God, Mighty Judge, and I mean it seriously. I know that God is love. That's why I live the life that I live. And most of these people just want to think that somebody has to suck up to them, somebody has to do this, do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're never going to get there.
Okay. All right. Michael Bush, the boss, he knows God, and you don't consider yourself that spiritual.
So I didn't say I don't consider myself that spiritual, but I don't think anybody should sit on live radio and say I'm a spiritual person. I'm so spiritual, or I'm a humble person. Once you use those words, life itself and God Himself.
That's not even showing humility. If you brag about it and talk about it. All right.
Humility never announces itself.
That's great. In case you're just tuning in, this is the Record Radio Rush. We are coasting to our first hour of this 100-hour program, which of course started at a minute past midnight, and we're going straight to Thursday 4 a.m. if you calculate the 100 hours. And my guest has been the man, and you see how he's talking. He owns the radio. He owns conversations, and it's a pleasure to be doing this with him. We have sat down a number of times.
Absolutely.
I remember
we've been co-presented.
We've co-presented as well. Akwabam Calling. That show is still on. And I was on the Monday edition. Was that?
That was Monday.
No, Wednesday edition.
But now that one is called Interview on Demand.
Interview on Demand.
Mighty Judge, the moment I woke up one day after 3-4 years of having my radio and TV licenses in my hands, I said to myself, I'm never going to pay any station for for airtime, independent production.
Okay, so what you have now?
Stations now pay me to do it. I have a couple of stations.
You're a content creator now.
Absolutely, yeah. I have a couple of stations paying me right now. 20 questions. One of the seminal, one of the best things we've done in our lives as producers, as radio people, as TV people. 20 questions is on DSTV, it's also on live, it's also on radio, and then that interview on demand. So interview on demand just means that once you need an interview, you need to have an interview on radio, just call me and I go give you one. But I'm not going to wake up. I'm not going to wake up
and go straight.
I don't know. I don't do sign language, unfortunately. Okay. That's one of my.
Just ignore. Ignore. We've gotten the message. We have the message, producer. We know what's up. All right. Anyway, so you now get paid, for content, which is great.
Yes.
You talked about 20 questions. You know, when we sit down with you, there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
We're going to go into the. You and Global Baba as well. But before we get there, let us look at 20 questions.
Yes, 20 questions.
You probably have told this story a number of times, but how did that start, and how did you, end up, carrying on 20 questions for this long?
He was here, my mentor, somebody that I'm very proud of, Mr. Eddie Ekpenyong.
That's right.
Discovered me, helped my
He's
journey.
My grandfather, yeah, the father.
Absolutely. so he really, he owns my broadcasting life. He owns my story.
Wow.
There's no way you open a leaf of my professional life without Mr. Eddie Ekpenyong, and it's all over them, and it would always be over them. I see people, they say, "Oh, I've outgrown that mentor." People even have 10 mentors, 2 mentors. You can now have 2 pastors, because otherwise you'll be hearing
different.
So I have just one mentor, and for the rest of my life, I'm going to have him. He's been there with me 32 years.
Wow.
And all of that. So
he himself is clocked over 40 years before he even.
The only problem with my mentor, Mr. Eddie Ekpenyong, is that I won't have anybody count his years on radio. Otherwise, I might just bury him alive. So it's better not to count this.
Don't count it, yeah.
I'm not sure we're saying 40. No, it could be 50.
It could be 50.
So if they say you've done 50 years, an ancestor.
That means there's an ancestor now. That means he was probably, let's not guess the age, but he's well over 60 now.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Yeah. He's done nearly 50 years, or nearly 50 years. He's done, well. He started out very young.
I think it was about 18.
Yes, it was.
That would make him, probably about 47 years old.
Yes, that's right. So back to what were you asking?
20 questions.
So he was the presenter of 20 questions.
Okay.
He was the chairman of 20 questions. So for about 3 years, my early years with him, he now just said, I should become panelist. In fact, I remember my first day as a panelist. It was just 2 of us, because we couldn't have people who wanted to be panelists. So he was the chairman. We just sat there producing it for radio. And with the late Mary Estienne, very iconic figure at the time on Radio Akwa Ibom.
Okay.
So we sat there, did the program, and I did a couple of other editions. Would even accompany him to go recording. And then one day he just said to me, "Look, I think you qualified to be chairman of 20 questions." At the time, I would never have known what God was taking me through. So, and then, I became that, and then I needed to leave AKBC. And by this time, the program had died. I think himself had left AKBC or something.
Okay.
Or he was still there, but the program had died. Nobody could, because it's a very expensive program to produce. So I took it as an independent production, and decided that I was going to run it on TV as well. It's never been on television. Remember, 20 Questions started, I think it should be an American radio, like
because
or BBC should have been.
So it's not an original idea.
It's not. But what is original about it is that I took it online, and I took it on television. It's never been on television.
Yes.
And then the rest is it's probably one of the best things, even though it's a borrowed idea, it's something that I inherited. But it's one of the best things I've done. But the best of the best, of course, is still
yet to come.
It's come.
Okay. But the best of the best is what?
Tell me. Global Baba.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now we move straight to that.
Yeah, sure.
You and Global Baba, Dr. Abel Damina, Intercontinental Michael Bush, Global Baba.
You know, we met by a mistake.
How?
So, one of these days, Imabong Ude, an Akwa Ibom girl who lived in Ghana, yes, came back to Nigeria and suddenly said she wanted to be marketing manager of Bush House Nigeria, and she started working. So one of those days, she just calls me up on the phone and said to me, "The boss, Dr. Abel Damina is our next guest." I said, "I don't want to hear. I'm not interviewing him. I'm not. Please get one of our presenters to do it."
Wow.
He said, "The boss, that's not how you teach us. You tell us to accommodate." I said, "I'm not accommodating that man. I don't like him. For nothing. I had never met the man.
Okay.
Nothing, but I just didn't like him." So she said, "No, he's going to be."
When was this again?
This is 2019.
19, yeah?
2019. This is 2019. Yes.
Okay.
I'm just back in Akwa Ibom from Abuja because I did 10 years in Abuja. So I'm just back.
That was a Akwa Ibom calling period, yeah?
Yes, Akwa Ibom calling period. Yes,
Yeah.
This is Akwa Ibom calling period, and this is on another radio station, not here.
Yeah.
You know, Akwa Ibom calling used to be on
That's right.
radio station. So she goes on and on. He's going to pay money. I said, "I don't want the money." In any case, get another presenter. He can do the program. It was on a Tuesday. So she kept troubling me. So that Tuesday, I said to her, "Okay, I would play host to him. I would interview him." So I got to the studio. I'm angry. The man just sits
Damina, Dr.
I don't know why. I don't know what he did to me. So I just sat there and I said to him, "Dr. Damina, all this money you go around collecting from people, is it God?"
Wow.
That's my first question to him. And he smiled and said, "Oh, Mr. Bush, that's no longer my reality.
All right.
I left that way of life, that way of that gospel about 6 years ago." I said, "Oh, you left? You used to do it?" He said, "Yes, I used to do it because..."
And I trust how you fire those
Do you
questions.
understand? He said, "Yes, because that's what I was taught." I said, "You were taught. So have you gone back now to do restitution?" He said, "There's no restitution in the Bible." Okay, if I want to restitute the person I killed, how will I bring back the person? So we went on. So
this was the new Dr. Damina now.
Yes, this was a new, and I didn't know, because that's another thing. You know, when you hate people, you have a way of carrying their Old Testament, even beyond their New Testament. They had left you. They have left that life. You're still seeing them within those prisons. You know,
right.
So he said this to me, and I said, "Oh, okay." So we went on to have one of the most fabulous interviews of my life. So, but one thing that didn't leave me, is humility. How do you ask the man all these kind of questions?
And he was just
anger. No, he was not angry. He didn't say anything nasty. He was always smiling. So we finished the interview, and he held me like this. We're going out. You know, I'm walking into the roadside. To his car.
Yeah.
At his car, they opened the door.
Okay.
He stands there and says to me, "Hey, Mr. Bush, actually, I've been trying to see you. I'd like us to have a business meeting." My alarm bells just went off in my head. Business meeting again. This man, he just told me he had changed. So, remember, this interview is in 2019.
2019, yeah.
I think this is October 2019. So he tries to have that interview, that meeting with me in October, in November, in December, in January, in February, in March. The meeting doesn't hold. But every day I'm telling him, "Mighty Judge, oh, yes, sir, I would come every day."
Every day.
Somehow, I don't get to go. Somehow, he's not angry. Then one day, he calls me. I think this is in June.
June 2019 too?
2020.
2020, yeah.
Yes.
That's,
Over like 6,
COVID,
7, 8 months. Yes, in the heat of COVID. He now says to me, "Mr. Bush, the thing that I really needed us to discuss is next month. Please, are you able to stop by?" So I said, "Okay, yes, I will stop by."
Okay.
I gave him, take that this is Monday. So I tell him I would come at 9 a.m. I'm an early bird. I like to do my meetings 8, 9, 10. I'm done for the day. So I said to him, "I'll come at 9 a.m. He said, "Perfect. I'll be in the office from 8. So at 8:45, I called him and said to him, "No, I'm not able to make it. So let's make it noon."
Okay.
At noon, 8:45, I called him and said, "Let's make it 2. 2, I called him. "No, I can't come there." And that continued up until Thursday.
Why were you doing that?
No, it's remember
the notion you had about
him and how I welcomed him to the program. All the things he told me he was not doing this just flew out of my head. So this particular Friday,
okay,
I said to him I would come today at 10. He said, okay, I'll be there at 9. I'll be in the office at 9. Please try and come because we're already running late. I said, I'll come at 10. Quarter to 10, I called him. I'm not able to come. I'll come at noon. At noon, quarter to noon, I called him. I said, I'm not able to come. I'll come at 2.
Okay.
2, I called him. I said, I'll come at 3. And 3, I said, oh, I remember. I have to be on radio.
Akwabum calling
4 to 6. So, but, sir, no matter what happens,
I will see you today.
Once it's 6 p.m., just know that in the next 15 minutes, I'll just drive from the studio. So, and that's exactly what happened. So, 6 p.m.
Okay, you didn't push it again.
No. So, 6 p.m., the driver winds the car into the premises. I get down. He's already there to receive me. That's the first thing. Why should he come to the car to receive me? So he guides me through a flight of stairs. You need to go to his office. He has a spiral of a staircase.
Wow.
So I get to his office and I'm like, wow, this is New York, this is fine. He said to me, yes, Mr. Bush, that's why I wanted the meeting here. I knew you were impressed. So we just generally laughed together.
So that was intentional?
Yes, so that was intentional. So he took me through the office, took me into the church. It was good to see a church like that. So and I was still stood there. He said to me, I want us to do a global program. And I've chosen you as the anchor. I said, no, I cannot anchor. He said, why? I said, I'm not in your church. He said, no, Mr. Bush, I don't do a 4-wall church. I do a global church.
A global church.
I can never forget this conversation, because the thing just hits me. I said to him, okay, so you do a global church. That's interesting, but I still cannot do it. He said, why? I said, because I can scatter the program for you. I can ask you very lousy questions.
Questions.
He said, that's why you have been chosen. I said, okay. And he said,
is that why you have the segment Ask
the
Counselor?
He brought me on because of Ask the Counselor, so we've been doing that since that 2020. This year will be our 6th anniversary. So he said to me, okay, will you do it? I said, no, I won't do it. For anything, I won't do it. So we argued for some days, argued again for a week or two. Then one day, because he was stressing me, I said, okay, I'll do it. He said, okay, just name your figure.
Okay.
I have a budget for this. I need to pay you because those 30 days, I would need you. Those 2-3 hours you are going to.
So this was originally scheduled for 30 days.
It was supposed to be 30 days. So I said to him, he said, look, I can even give you 10 million. I'm serious.
Wow.
I want to. I said, no. I said to him, I don't want money. He said, why don't you want money? I said to him, because I believe if I do this for God, God will do something else for me. He will do better for me. He said, wow, that is wrong teaching.
That you're supposed to be paid. So you rejected money.
Let me come now. So he talked and I said, I won't collect the money. And then he kept going on. I said, I won't collect the money. So he started believing. He told me many times later, even some members of his family were thinking that I was lying, that I'm not taking the money. I didn't want to come. Until that day, I think it was the 5th of July, 2020. I think that was the first edition of that program. I just pressed in there 5 minutes to 6. And the rest, as it says, history. So when we started the program, it was supposed to be for 30 days. But the program was so good, by every standard, even if I say so myself. People across the world now said, no, it can't be for 30 days. In fact, there are some people who have already paid to sponsor that program for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
Like a man, those early days took out Sunday, that every Sunday of the program he was sponsoring for the rest of his life, So,
and look at it, from 30 days now.
So he went to 60 days, he went to 90 days, and he went to forever. And, when I went to his church, there was no intention whatsoever to ever be a member. I didn't even know, I didn't know what I was getting into. But a particular Thursday, I just got him on my program, one radio station. I remember the radio station, but it's unprofessional to mention one radio station.
On another one. Oh.
So I'm sitting there on that radio station. I said to him, Global Baba, this one that I'm following you all over the place, am I at any risk, my person? He said, never. So I said, what about the church that I attend? He said, except they be not of Christ. And the following day, a Saturday, my then church invited me and said to me, you have to leave, stop that thing. You have to stop that stuff that you're doing with Global Barber. If you don't stop it, you leave the church. I said, okay. Fortunately, it's a Friday. If you see me on Sunday, know that I have stopped. If you don't see me on Sunday,
don't see me,
so that's where we are. And
so that's how you switched.
Yes, and it's probably Power City is the best place I've ever been in my life. Global Bar is one of the few men, in fact, one of the fewest men in my life I can say has never betrayed me, has been so good to me. I didn't take the 10 million. I didn't take any money.
Yeah, so maybe because you turned down the 10 million, then he just got to trust you so much, right?
Apart from that, my radio project, he gave me 50 million naira. He's the only person. Dr. Beldamina,
Wow.
Yes. So so what are we saying?
But if you didn't, opt to do this program, you probably wouldn't have been tempted. In quote, to join Power City. You would have still been.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have.
So it was.
But you don't also know. You don't.
Maybe divine.
Yes, absolutely. You don't know. You don't know.
All right.
Because this just became like. This revolutionized my life. Do you understand? This just this has transformed. I used to be a brilliant mind, but I think I'm more now.
Okay.
No immodesty intended. I'm more now, thanks to Global. But there are many things is done in my brain, my way of life, my being, my mindset.
Yeah, it'll be great to have Global Baba here to talk about
coming.
This as well.
No, he's coming.
Yeah, he's coming on Wednesday, right?
Absolutely. And I'll be right here with him.
Great.
I'll be right here.
Great. And I'm going to ask him about you.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
We need to, some people say, let's verify. Did the boss really turn down 10 million? But of course.
I can tell you, he would never discuss that.
He will never discuss that.
Never.
Okay. Anyway. All right, it's just 2 minutes past 1 o'clock right here on this very lovely Sunday morning, the 27th of course, April 2025. This is Record Radio Rush, and we have the pleasure of having the boss, Michael Bush, as our first guest.
So like playing 1 hour gone.
1 hour gone on us. So it just be like say maybe we just did a talk.
And 98.57 now.
To go. Well, you guys should put up that placard. 1 hour. Woo.